Hey guys, thanks so much for watching my channel. My name is Veronica Ray. You can call me V. And today's video is going to be all about what I do and what I use to achieve this very full coverage foundation. So if you want to learn how I do my full coverage foundation, continue to watch. So to get this foundation super full coverage, super flawless, you definitely want to prime your face, of course. After your skincare, you want to make sure that you use a primer that isn't too slippery. I personally like one that kind of dries down. So today I'll be using the primer from The Ordinary. It is called the High Adherence Silicone Primer. This primer is fairly new to the game. I heard about it watching YouTube and tutorials and things of that nature, but it's a brand that claims to be very effective but really affordable. This primer was very cheap. I want to say it was like $6 or $7, but if you want a good primer and you don't want to spend $30 or $40 for a primer, this is a really good one. So to achieve this really flawless full coverage foundation, I actually mix two foundations that I really like. One of the foundations isn't necessarily the most full coverage, but it does have such a beautiful long wear natural finish to it that when I mix it with the other foundation, it gives me like a really flawless long wearing foundation and a very flawless natural looking full coverage. The foundation that I'm using is by Smashbox. What I really love about this foundation is that initially when you put it on, it only gives you a medium coverage, but it gives you the opportunity to build up to a full coverage. What I really love about the wear of this product is that it stays on and does not move throughout the day. I find that a lot of long wearing foundations tend to cling to the skin and really show off texture on the face, and I find that this one doesn't do it so much. So to really pump up the coverage of this particular foundation, I discovered this product while perusing through YouTube, and it has really lived up to the hype, I think. A lot of people have mixed reviews, but honestly, for $15, you really can't complain. So what it is Dermacol Full Coverage Foundation. So this is a film studio brand. Apparently it was a makeup designed in Europe that was designed for movies. You can use this by itself, but personally I find that it doesn't wear as nicely as I want it to. I feel like it doesn't hold on to my skin as much as I'd like it to. I did wear it on its own for a few hours and I found that it did crease in certain areas, especially in areas where I tended to get oily. So I like to mix this foundation, and a lot of people were like, I've heard people say that it gives you a kind of a glowy look, and I like that glowy look because I think it looks like your skin. But that's why I like to use this particular product mixed in with a more long wear foundation. So they kind of help each other out in a lot of ways. I take a few pumps of the Smashbox foundation and then I add a very small amount of this Dermacol. I'm telling you girl, this Dermacol is so full coverage, I kid you not. Like, people claim that everything's full coverage, like, oh, this foundation's full coverage. No, this foundation is full coverage. And if you're a makeup artist out there, get these foundations. First of all, they're so cheap. You get them off of Amazon. And at the end of the day, they're great mix-ins to like, you can mix them with like a moisturizer, or you can use them as shade adjusters. I'm literally mixing the two foundations together. So I'm using my Real Technique sponge, and I'm telling you, a little goes a long way with this product. So literally, as you can see, it just keeps going. And that's what I love about it. It's like so full coverage. You really want to work the product into the skin with the sponge. I like the sponge because of the flat edge of it, and I like the bounce. I think that's what makes a good blending sponge, is how it bounces. And this one has a good bounce. You don't want it to be too, like, too dense. I've tried sponges that, like, when you pressed it to the skin, it just stopped and it didn't have a good, like, marshmallowy bounce. So you really want to work this into the skin. But look at that, look at the coverage. Can we just take a moment and just appreciate that coverage? It covers everything. So when working with a foundation, this whole coverage, you really want to blend it down into the neck. And like, if your ears tend to turn red, kind of like mine, I'm just going to put a little bit on my ears too. And what I like about this foundation too is that it's kind of thin. It isn't like a super duper thick foundation. And because you only need a little bit, again, it goes so far. And I put foundation on my lips too, so when I do a lipstick, it just pops. But do you see like the finish? See how it kind of looks shiny? And I like that because it looks like your skin, you know? Wow, that's really flawless. Look how, do I not look like a mannequin? Tried all the foundations. And this really is, I mean, there are foundations out there that are like really full coverage, but they're heavy. You can feel the heaviness. This isn't heavy at all, which is crazy. Okay, so after you put the foundation on, I'm gonna put concealer. Because this is a really full coverage look, I'm gonna be using Tarte Shape Tape. So Tarte Shape Tape is like a YouTube staple. Everyone uses it. And at first I was like, why is everyone obsessed with this concealer? But I can see why now. It's really full coverage, first of all. I like the texture of it. It's like not too slippery, it's not too hydrating. So you have to be careful with it. If you're like 15 years old and you have nothing to cover, girl, you don't need this. No, let's just keep it real. I like my under eye to just be slightly lighter than my foundation, just to kind of create a bit of a highlight. I'm running out of this concealer. It's starting to get a little dry. So upside down triangle, just like so. Wow, I look like literally one color. So because this foundation is a little dewy, I'm still going to set it, and it will look matte at first, but then the thing is that as the day goes by, it's going to look more like skin because the oil is going to come through, and it's just going to make it look really pretty. So to set my foundation, I'm using the good old RCMA, the original no color powder, and this has been around forever. It is so cheap. It's like 10 bucks. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that sponge and then set under my eyes. So before you set under your eyes, you want to make sure everything is flawless under the eyes. You don't want to see makeup creasing. I think that's a big mistake a lot of people do. They wait too long between the concealer application and setting it with the powder. So you want to make kind of double check, look under your eyes to see, because right here, there are all these fine lines. Everyone has them, and you want to just make sure, just tap them out a little bit before you put the powder, because once you put that powder, it is locked. It is not moving. And you want to lock it down while it's flawless, you know? So I like setting with the sponge under my eyes, because it is true, like that little bit of moisture in the sponge does kind of help lock down the powder into the foundation, and it really prevents the foundation from moving and creasing and changing. But you want the sponge to be like very wrung out. Like water shouldn't squeeze out of it when you squeeze it. You should really wring out all the water as much as you can, so it shouldn't feel wet. And it looks very white and ashy right now, But what I'm going to do is after I let it sit a little bit, I'm going to go in with like a colored powder and I'm going to buff everything out. I know I look a little scary right now. I'm like super powdery and super white. Okay, so once that you've let the powder sit a little bit, this is when you go in and do your eyeshadow. And when you're done with your eyeshadow, this is when I kind of brush away the bake. So what I like to use, again, my lovely Milani powder in number 4 Light Tan. Great powder. It's amazing. I love it. This is how much I love it. I've hit pan and I have a new one waiting for me. I'm just trying to finish this one. So I use my Artis Oval 10 and I literally just like wipe off that powder that I put on. But see how like it went away? For some reason, right on my nostrils, makeup likes to come off. So I have to kind of like go in with a sponge. So weird. Or like tap in powder right there. Literally just like the outside of my nostril. Like makeup doesn't want to stick. Okay, so after I'm done kind of buffing out that translucent powder with the Milani powder, this is pretty much what you're left with. At this point, you're pretty much done with your foundation. You are pretty much a blank canvas at this point. Everything's kind of flattened out. You are one color. And a lot of people at this point when I'm working with clients feel that their foundation is too light or it doesn't match because they're not used to seeing themselves without any undertone, without any like redness or discoloration or anything. Clients aren't used to this stage of the foundation process, especially when they want full coverage foundation, because I've evened you out completely into one color. So technically this is your color. So what you want to do is like you really want to find it and like match into your body. So if you're tan, you want to match your tan. Like if your body is like fully tan, you want to match your tan. I don't understand brands that have full coverage foundations or claim they have full coverage foundations and they only have 5 shades. Like I don't get it. Because you need to match it perfectly because it's such a strong full coverage foundation. You have to get as close as possible to your natural skin tone. Once you are done with this is the part where I go into contouring. I have several ways that I like to contour, and lately I discovered this at the bottom of my drawer once again, and you can tell that this powder is old, but just from the packaging, because it's the old packaging. But this is a mineralized skin finish from MAC, and I am using the color Dark as my bronzer slash contour. So I'm taking my Kevyn Aucoin brush. And again, it's a number 3. What I like to do is I like to kind of place the product down like that. And then I go in and buff it out. So you don't want to buff it out like right away just because you want that definition. You want to see the definition right here. Because if I went like this right away, it would start blending it out too fast. And when you first load your brush like this is when it's the most powerful. Right when you take it out of that product, you're fully loaded. So where you place this product is where the strongest application is going to be, obviously, but a lot of people just kind of start anywhere they want, and you want to start where you want the most definition, and I start right underneath the cheekbone. So this part is going to look the most sucked in. And if you have a hard time finding your contour, just suck your cheeks in. And you can see it. Like if you do this, you can totally see it, and then buff it out. And I kind of scoop underneath my cheekbone, like right here. This is my cheek, so I kind of scoop, you know, so it doesn't just stop. You kind of want to fade it out. And then you want to go into the hairline. The easiest way to think of when you're doing a contour is a number 3, so it's along the hairline like so. underneath the cheekbone and then underneath the jawline. And with under the jawline, I kind of go under and then I push down so it fades. You don't want to push up because you want to keep this, you want to keep your jawline lighter. But do you see the difference? From one side to the other? Like this side's like totally warmed up and this side's like flat, right? So I'm gonna do the other side really quickly. Like my contouring like technique is very fast. I don't have time for all that, all this like 12-step process of using a cream contour and blending that out. And a lot of you out there are probably going to ask, so what's better, a cream contour or a powder? I mean, that's preference on what you like. For me, you should judge it on how well versed you are with makeup and how strong is your skill set. If you feel like you can blend the creams in and still get like a very defined contour look, then go for it. I personally have combination oily skin and I feel like creams will just slide around on my face. I like my makeup, especially in a full coverage foundation, to last as long as possible. And if I used a cream, it would start moving. And I feel like you go over the cream with a powder anyway, so I'm like what's the point, you know? I go under my lip, like right above my chin and underneath my lip, like right here. So technically I like to use this mineralized skin finish as like my, you know, my bronzer step. In comparison, it isn't a too orange in comparison to like an actual bronzer. Sometimes bronzers are like too orange. At least I know this one is trying to look more like a skin tone. It's just a darker skin tone. And if you ever go OD, just take a big powder brush and just kind of go over it to diffuse the edges. Especially here, I always see celebrities where they went OD on the forehead, especially J-Lo. You know when J-Lo has her bad makeup artist on because she has a line of bronzer across her forehead and they didn't blend it down into her forehead. It just looks like a line sitting. And you want the bottom part of this contour to be a little sharp. You don't want to be as diffused as the top because this is what's giving you that nice contour. I'm also going to take this brush and then I'm just going to lightly go down the side of the nose. Inside the inner socket, down to the tip of the nose, around the nostril, right here. Perfect. Okay. So, I mean, technically you can stop there for contour if you want, but if you want more definition, I would recommend going into a cooler color as like your actual contour shade. I look at this as like my bronzer step again to kind of warm up your foundation. Usually your body tends to be warmer than your face, so you kind of bring that warmth onto your face and that balances everything out. So when you use a full coverage foundation, you're blanking out all of those red tones, all of any kind of discoloration on your skin, and you'll feel like super flawless and super one color, and then your body will be like warm. And you want to kind of bring back those warm tones into the face with the bronzer. But if you want to look more cut and you want to look more chiseled out, I would suggest using like a cooler color. So when you want that chiseled look, you definitely want to use a cooler contour shade. And the one that has been around forever and really was the king of contour, and that was Kevyn Aucoin. And what I'm using is the contour shade in medium. This is the Sculpting Powder in medium from Kevyn Aucoin. So he has a deeper one and a lighter one if you're like really fair, but the medium is perfect for my skin tone. So if you're like around my color, a little lighter or even a little darker, it might work out for you. But I want you to see how cool that is compared to the powder. So see this powder, how warm, and you kind of see like the oranges in it, and then this one, it's almost gray. And that's gray because you want that coolness, because what you're doing when you're contouring is that you're making shadows. Contouring and highlighting is nothing but manipulation of light, dark shadows. You want to kind of place those colors in areas that you want to flatter your face. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking that Kevyn Aucoin brush that I use as the bronzer, I'm dipping it into that medium, and I'm just literally going to place this at the deepest part of my cheekbone, so like right underneath. Like I don't want to go as hard as I did with the bronzy color. I want it to kind of fade into that bronzy color, so it goes from like that cool color into the warm color. You just want to emphasize like with this color. You don't want to overdo it. And I've seen so many girls walking around with like gray stripes on their face, and it's not cute. It is not cute. You have to be light-handed with the contour shade. It should look like a shadow. And even me, I get paranoid because I'm like, am I putting too much on? So like right like behind my ear, that's where I kind of place it. And then like fade it out. Temples. And I want to kind of create like an oval, you know, you want to create like an oval, and that's the whole point. Like if you have a big forehead like me, I literally put it at the highest points and I blend it down. Yeah, that's good. Perfect. And I'm actually going to take that brush again. And I'm just going to hit it right here. I'm not going to go as far down as I did with the bronzy color with the mineralized skin finish. I'm just going to put it right here. Just to kind of emphasize and shape my nose. And you know what? A lot of times people think, oh, when you contour your nose, you're trying to change your nose. Yeah, you could if you wanted to, because again, you're manipulating shade, shadow, and light. But when I do it, especially when I do it on clients, I don't try to change their nose. I'm just trying to bring it back. Because again, with the foundation, especially full coverage foundation, you're blanking out your face. You're taking away like so much depth on your face. Your nose almost like, because your nose is exactly the same color as everything behind it, it looks flattened. What I do is I kind of just lightly kind of bring that definition so their nose comes back and pops out. And it's just emphasizing the shape of their nose, you know? And you can kind of go in with these kind of brushes that I love from Crown, and you can really like sharpen. After you contour, I kind of lightly highlight. I'm using a palette that I got from an Ipsy or a BoxyCharm, but it's called the Highlight and Contour Palette from IBY Beauty. So this guy here, and I was skeptical at first when I tried this, but I really like it. I've literally been using it, and it has all the colors you need. But I like to literally take these colors, the lighter colors here, I actually mixed them all together. I'm using a Jenny Patinkin brush. And I like this brush because it is so soft. It's like there's no way you can get full coverage from this brush. Lays the product on like super sheer. And I just kind of sweep it under my eye. Like that. I even put it like right here on the inner corner, and then I kind of sweep it up onto the cheekbone. Chin, you can put it on the bow of your lip. Put it on the bridge of my nose. So this color should be very sheer. And it's kind of the same place you would put like a shimmery highlight. Like if you wanted a matte look, this is what you would use. But I put it on before I do a shimmer, just to kind of create even more definition. But yeah, so see? My cheekbones like sucked in. Yes. So after this, this is the part where you can do the shimmer and the fun stuff. So for highlighter, I'm going to use the Becca highlighter in Prosecco Pop. This is such a beautiful color for golden skin tones. It's just such a pretty, perfect kind of golden highlight look. And I'm actually going to use the Jenny Patinkin brush that I used for the matte. And I'm just going to hit all the high points. The same areas that I kind of hit with the matte version, but with this one, I'm not going to go in the inner part, like how I brought that lighter color in here. I'm actually just hitting the highest points because you want it to be like light reflective, you know? So right here, above my brow, right on the bridge. And you can even use a brush like this for like areas like this. This is I got this at the Makeup Shack, and it's a T19 brush, but I like it because it's small and you can literally just put like a beam of light like right there. See that? And I don't like to do the whole tip of the nose thing. First of all, it might look cute for pictures and stuff, but like my nose gets oily. It'll be oily by the end of this video, girl. And you could go in, like if I did this brush, did that first, and then I can take this brush and then just hit it right here if you want it to be like extra blinding. Becca has really beautiful highlighters. I mean, that really is her claim to fame. So for the bow of the lip, you can be really detailed with this brush and like literally just do that. But I like to just take this brush and go like that. It hits two birds with one stone. It highlights my cupid's bow and it highlights my chin. A little bit on the forehead, above the brow. You could even take it and do the inner corners a little bit. Ooh, girl, I am beat. Okay, so when you're done with your foundation and setting it and your contour and highlight, you want to really use a good setting spray that's going to get through all those powders and kind of like melt everything together. So again, Fix Plus. This is like the original, guys. This is like the one that started it all. This has been around since the beginning of time, and like everyone just in the past 5 years started catching up to it. But this, there's something up in it that just does something magical to the skin. So I like to get a nice generous amount of spray onto this. So you don't want to be shy with this. You don't want to be shy with the setting sprays. And I'll tell you why. I have good reason. I'm not just doing it to be extra. I like it to really get through all those powders. You know, like I have like how many layers of powders that I just put on, like 5 or 6. I really want it to melt into the skin. I want it to all get diffused, and I want that highlighter to melt into the skin. And these are all reasons for setting. So what happens is that it goes through and goes down deep, and then it dries like that, and that's what you want. The best way to put it is I think of, it's like kind of putting water on sand. Like sand, if it's dry, it's loose, it's moving around, it's blowing around. But if you put water on sand, what happens? It sticks together, right? It like, everything sticks together and then it holds in place. And that's kind of how I look at setting spray. And different setting sprays for different finishes. I mean, I have setting sprays if you want a really super duper glowy finish. If you want to look extra matte, they have great setting sprays for that as well. And why I like the Fix Plus is because it does give you a shine, but it's a nice natural shine, if that makes sense. It isn't like the Cover FX illuminating spray, which that one makes you look metallic almost because it's so glowy. So I'm just gonna let this dry a little bit. And then when it's dry, I like to do my brows and all that stuff because I feel like even my brow powder sticks better to my foundation. So that's it, guys. So that's everything that I use to get a really full coverage, flawless finish. I'm just gonna throw on some makeup real quick and I'll be right back. Alright guys, so this is the final look. I just threw on a little bit of bronzer into my eyes for my eyeshadow. Threw on some lashes, and for lips, I'm wearing a combination of Smashbox Thrill Seeker and MAC Melange. I really wanted to do like just a very classic look, very bold lips, and very natural eyeshadow, and lots of lashes. This is the whole full coverage foundation contour highlight video. I hope you learned a few things today. I hope you learned about some new products that you might want to try when you're achieving a super full coverage, flawless foundation finish. Please subscribe to my video. Don't forget to like and hit the bell icon down below to receive notifications when new videos are being posted. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.